Hello, this is Joanie Courtney. I am the Chief Workforce Analyst at EmployBridge, and I would like to welcome you to the third webinar in a four-part series of the Voice of the American Supply Chain. This week, we are focusing on America's reopening and the economic recovery that will follow COVID-19. It's certainly not too early to start thinking about how this will impact your staffing strategy for the remainder of 2020 and into 2021. Having just come out of one of the strongest economies that we've ever had, we found ourselves in a situation where if we found good talent, we had the tendency to hire them on a full-time basis right away. Unfortunately, we are not in that situation today. With a volatile and uncertainty of the recovery that's ahead of us, we know that we need to think differently going forward. And because we don't want to be going through this cycle of staffing up just to turn around and do layoffs and furloughs again as demand goes down, we really want to offer some advice to bring you options on how you should think about your workforce planning and your strategy around staffing. Because every time you let someone go or have to face a furlough or a layoff situation in your company, it's not just the expense of unemployment, but it's also the psychological cost to employees that are left feeling uncertain, and it certainly can impact the employee morale. Now, let's look at an example in an ideal world, what the economic recovery would look like. It probably would be a smooth curve moving steadily up into the right. And in this scenario, if you took a traditional approach to managing your labor expense, you would be okay. Meaning that you keep a relatively low percentage of your labor contingent, in this case 10%, as you grow to maximize your full-time hires, which would be keeping them at about 90% of your total workforce. But we don't know exactly what the recovery is going to look like. Economists have built many models, from a V-shaped to a U-shaped, to the steady curve, to a jagged recovery. And none of us really have that crystal ball, though I wish we did. There just is too much uncertainty right now. So we're going to use an example, more like the scenario of the jagged line. And the jagged line shows us that perhaps we initially rise due to that pent-up demand for goods and services, but let's say in about 5 months' time, there's a virus resurgence, or there could be a change in import tariffs, or we're also headed into an election. There's just a lot of uncertainty. And your facility may be forced to reduce capacity for a few months. If this were to happen, and you were using that traditional labor model that I described earlier, you'd have a large number of full-time staff that you would be forced, most likely be forced, to lay off or furlough. So let's put some numbers to this scenario to get a deeper understanding of the bottom line impact. When your labor needs go from having 650 employees to 325 employees, and you only have 10% of your workforce on a contingent, or temporary basis, you have a tough choice to make. You would either have to carry the excess cost of 260 full-time workers, or you would have to start furloughing or laying off those workers. If, however, though, you were using a different model, say you were using a model of keeping 35% of your total workforce on a contingent basis, when the demand was to fall in that jagged, model, that would put you in a situation where you still would have 97 excess full-time workers. So it's better than the 260 in the 10% model, but you still would be faced with 97 people that you would either have to keep at that cost or furlough or lay off. So we're going to look at one more model. In our last example, if you maintained a highly variable labor model at, say, 65%, as we kind of get through the uncertainty of this recovery, when the demand goes down, your full-time workforce is completely insulated from any furloughs or layoffs. There are no excess carry costs, and if demand were to increase even further from that point, you would still have a fair amount of contingent workers that could be reduced or increased if the demand was to rise again.
The numbers are compelling, so you might be wondering, what's the catch? Is it more expensive to hire contingent workers than permanent staff? Well, the answer is no. For example, if you hire a $15 an hour employee, by the time you pay employment taxes, employee benefits, and the cost of recruiting and training, that employee is costing you $26.93 an hour. If you hired a contingent worker receiving that same $15 an hour rate at a bill rate of, let's say, $22.50 an hour, the staffing employer is assuming all of the other employment-related expenses, all of the taxes, insurance, and benefits. It's actually saving you $4.43 an hour, which equates to about 16.45%.
Plus, they've also done all the recruitment cost on the upfront as well. So there's even additional savings. So in these uncertain and unprecedented times, it is very important that you do hire the right partner. The right partner is so essential. Contingent labor really should be looked at as more of a long-term strategy. And you need a partner that has financial strength and stability, has expertise in your industry, offers quality recruitment and engagement, that is committed more than ever before to the health and safety standards, and also can provide you the workforce reporting for improved visibility. Now, I'd like to let you know that EmployBridge certainly can partner with you on finding that right balance of what portion of your workforce should be contingent. And we also have developed an incredible amount of resources for returning to work. So please visit the Voice of the American Supply Chain. You can find it at www.employbridge.com/supply-chain.voice. Thank you for joining today. And if you'd like to connect with me, you can find me on LinkedIn and Twitter at Joanie Courtney.